Okay, I'm doing this thing. I'm scared. What the frick? Okay. Hey, y'all. Welcome to season 2 of the Adolescent Prophet podcast. It's me, Jade Fagan. And I'm doing a visual. Ow. Which I've never done before. I'm a little nervy. I haven't been on a camera with the intention to post the video in maybe 3 years. So I feel a little awkward, a little nervous, a little insecure. But I say all that with the intention of it hopefully going away. So let's figure out what I'm going to talk about. We also have Poncho. He stopped making noise as soon as I put the mic right by him, but he's here. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so the notes that I wrote for this episode they're actually really well written out. And I love when I do that because it makes it easier to speak just off the dome. But basically, today's episode is going to be how you need to stop taking your humanity so personally. And the reason why I say stop taking your humanity so personally is because we often will get mad at God for sacrificing us or just allowing us to feel pain or suffering in any sort of way, rather than understanding that every time God moves in your life or every time something happens in your life that is out of your control, oftentimes God's purpose is being done through you without you realizing. And my example to apply to this is basically through me having mental health issues that have provided so much suffering and pain in my life. And provided was the wrong word to use, but I've never suffered at the level that I have suffered now. And that's just at the cost of my brain being sick. And I've never experienced this at the level that I am now. And for a long time, I was mad at God for it. But then I recognized that if my sickness is what leads certain family members in my life to Christ, then how selfish am I to want God to stop his plan? And that's what I mean when I say that you shouldn't take your humanity so personally, because God's often going to use you as the bait to get other people to come to him. Because through me, my dad and my grandma and my mom and my brothers have been more open to the idea of Christ because they saw how much he has transformed me from even 6 months ago to even a year ago. The mental state that I was in versus the mental state that I'm in now is so vastly different, to the point where they're recognizing that maybe I'm onto something when I'm talking about how good God is and how passionate we should all be for him, because he truly does love us. And in my notes I put, whether your life is surrendered to Jesus Christ or not, you will go through things that you have no control over, which is extremely humbling. I believe that when I was younger, I had such a huge ego, and I thought that I was superior to other people, and I thought that I was invincible to a certain extent. And so when something happened to me that I couldn't fix immediately, it was the most humbling experience ever. I also wrote, God tells us through the book of Job in the Bible that reality is so much more complex than we realize. If you're not familiar with the Bible, it's a really good book. I highly recommend that you read it. At least read 1 page a day, because it's very long, but it's very good. And in the book of Job is basically a man who was very faithful to God. So God was looking down at Job wow, look at my faithful servant. He's so good and innocent, and he's so pure, and I love this dude. He's really doing good things, and he really fully believes in me. I love this guy. And Satan was the only reason that he believes in you and loves you so much is because you give him so much. He only loves you because you gave him all that sheep, and you gave him all them kids, and you gave him that house, and you gave him that wife, and you gave him that field, and you gave him that money. And once you take all of those things away, he's not going to love you anymore. And God was like, how much you want to bet? And Satan was like, let me do basically whatever I need to do in order to test him. And God was like, okay, you can do whatever you want to do with him. You could take anything you want away from him, but you cannot kill him personally. Satan was like, okay. So Satan took away his house. Satan gave him leprosy, or like a skin disease is what they call it in the Bible. And back in the Bible times, if you had any sort of skin disease, they believed that you were unclean, and they believed that you had like an evil spirit on you. So they would cast you, like excommunicate you out of the town. So he was like completely isolated because he got this skin disease. And then all of his kids died. And then I think all of his sheep died. So he had no like financial, like he had no way of making money. And basically, long story short, he got all of his possessions taken away from him. He got excommunicated from his town, so he was extremely lonely. And he was so sick to the point where when his friends left their town to go and visit him, they didn't even recognize him because he looked so sickly. And basically the entire like book of Job is just lamenting. He's just in mourning, he's suffering, and he's talking to God like, God, if you were just and fair, like, why are you doing this to me? I can't believe you. Like, curse be to the day that I was born. Like, he's basically saying like, if suffering was in your plan for me, there is no point of me being born. I rather would have just never been a human being. Which is like so deep, because I like low-key, I just spit, but low-key I like relate to that, which is so like ugh. But he basically was saying like over and over to God how like terrible like what he allowed to happen to him was. And when his friends came and visited him, they were like, there's no way you could be going through this amount of suffering without having done something bad. They're like, you're a sinner, because God wouldn't allow this many things to be taken away from you if you didn't do anything bad. And he kept pleading his case, like, no, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. I didn't sin, I didn't sin. And he didn't. The only reason he got tested is because he was good. And I say this to say that, long story short, at the end of the story, God convicts his friends, tells them that they are wrong, that you guys are actually the ones who are unjust and unfair because they don't know the basis of the story. And then he tells Job that he is in the right. And he gives Job double of what he had before. So he gives him, if he had 4 kids, he now has 8. If he had 8 lambs, he now has 16. He gave him a house twice as big, and he completely heals him from his sicknesses and gives him double. But the whole origin of his suffering was rooted in his innocence. And basically, when God was explaining like his reasoning to Job, because Job was like, God, why are you doing this? Please come to me face to face and explain it. God was like, basically, I'm the creator of the universe, and you have no idea of how complex the universe is, to the point where like you're not even capable of comprehending like every little thing that I'm doing. Like, so even if I try to explain it to you, you're gonna go crazy. So you just need to trust me and just believe that I'm bigger than you and I'm in charge, and just trust that, because I am good and I love you, even though you're going through all of this suffering. Like, just believe in me, period. And he was giving him a whole bunch of examples. Like, I'm the one who puts the waves in the ocean. I'm the one who gives the chicken the wisdom to, excuse me. I'm the one who gives the chicken the wisdom to crow in the morning. Like, how does the chicken know that it's the morning time when he crows? Or no, the rooster, whatever, you guys are getting it. And so he gives him all these examples that makes Job really like grasp how powerful God is and how God does so many things that we have no control over. And he just basically tells him to trust him, but he doesn't really give him an example. And so when we always ask God, why are you doing this in my life? Why have you done this to me? Why did you allow this happen? And when people who don't believe in God are like, okay, if God is so good, why does he allow bad things to happen? Also, it's our job to not give God the blame for bad things to happen, because if you believe in God, you should also believe in the devil. And the devil exists because he is the enemy of God. The devil's entire purpose is to make you stop believing in God, because he wants to prevent you from prospering. He wants to prevent any and all good things in your life. The devil is literally everything bad that you've ever felt: shame, embarrassment, fear. Like, every bad emotion, every bad experience can be sourced out to emotions that the devil makes you feel. And so when you feel anything good, that comes from God. That's just like a basic understanding. And so it's important, especially for people who are Christian, to not blame God for bad things that happen. But also, when you are Christian, you learn that, oh, God is sovereign, which means that God is all powerful. God is all knowing. God is above any and all things. So anything that the devil, anything that the devil does, for example, getting mentally ill, if the devil did that, then that means that God allowed it to happen, because God has dominion over the devil. So God can prevent the devil from doing anything. And so it's still like a little bit of a loophole. Like, you're still able to be like, okay, well, God, you like allowed this to happen, so how am I supposed to be able to trust you? But that's such a complex question, because when you go through hard times, you don't realize that they were good for you until they end. And so, for example, when I think back to certain moments where I got my heart broken in high school, or certain moments where I ended up feeling like I took a loss, it wasn't until I continued to walk the path and look back and reflect and realize, oh, I learned something there. Like, that was actually a positive experience for me. So whenever you're enduring through something that's extremely, extremely difficult, it's important to detach from it and see it from God's perspective, and remember that if God loves me more than I love myself, if God loves me more than anybody else in this entire world, and he's allowing me to go through this, then there must be something good in this. There must be fruit in this. He must have a good plan and must have good intentions. But it's discouraging often to wait on God to perform the miracle in your life, or to get you through the hard part so that he could show you what he was really doing during the suffering, to the point where that's a mentality that you have to continually remember, because it's not easy. It's definitely easier said than done, and I'm speaking from experience. Like, my faith has gone up and down a million times over, to the point where I'm like, why do I even believe in you? But not believing isn't really an option for me, because God is the only place where I found hope. God basically showed me that nothing else is the answer except for him, through the process of elimination. It was like, I started having mental health issues when I was like maybe 18, 19, and I didn't recognize that I was sick until I was actually in the mental hospital, and they diagnosed me with something that was unknowingly going to change my life, you know? And so on that journey of getting sick, or on the journey of becoming sick, getting sick, and then like having a sickness, it was extremely tumultuous, to say the least, and like very, very, very difficult. But when you begin to doubt God, you get swept away by every little thing. Like the Bible says that when you doubt God, you get swept away by the wind, or something like that. That's like not a very verbatim like quote, but it's very accurate. And so, oh, that's what I was talking about. Okay, by the process of elimination. So right after I got sick, I immediately wanted to go back to the things that I had been doing to feel good all along, which is like the obvious things like drugs, alcohol, boys, whatever. And so I went back to smoking weed, recognized that, oh, weed is the thing that got me sick, because I feel like all of my, like, I started taking medication for my sickness. I smoked weed, and then all of the symptoms that went away with the medication came back when I inhaled the smoke. So I was like, okay, can't smoke weed anymore. And then I started drinking. And I went through a season where I was drinking like pretty much every time I was with my friends. And so that was like maybe for a couple months. And then I realized, oh, drinking could be a problem for me, because the fact that I wasn't able to let go of weed as easily as I wanted to means that this may be a problem for me as well. So I should probably pay attention to that pattern and let go of it. And I felt like it wasn't in God's will for me to just go from weed to drinking. Like, it wasn't in his will for me to just hop on to the next thing that could make me escape. And I've never been somebody who enjoyed the feeling of being drunk in the first place, so it wasn't like it was super hard to let go of alcohol. And then, but basically, anything that I tried in order to escape from my mental health issues wouldn't work. It was like it wouldn't budge, and my symptoms either would stay the same or would increase from any of the things that I tried to do. And Christ wasn't the immediate answer in my mind. Like, okay, let me become Christian so that I can be free from this. It sort of happened in like a divine, sort of ordained way, is what I believe, because it happened through a friend. And my friend basically told me, like, oh yeah, I've been going to church and I've been doing school. I go to this one church and I go to a youth group every Tuesday. I think that you should come. And I went, and it wasn't like I felt anything extremely supernatural, but I did feel a good feeling there that I haven't felt in a long time, or that I hadn't felt in a long time up until that point. I don't know where I'm going with this. I kind of lost my, I lost my little thing. Okay, basically what I'm trying to get at is that the level of healing that I was seeking only came from God. Because when I would search for answers or for a solution about how I can be free from mental health issues, the only place that told me that you can actually be free from this and I can remove this from you was the Bible. And so off of that solution alone, I just clung to him and stayed close. And that initiated a gigantic journey of getting to know God for the first time, because I didn't recognize how much his goodness was sprinkled all throughout my life until I recognized his presence. And once I recognized his presence, I'm like, oh, you probably also did that other good thing in the past that I thought was my own will. And you also probably did that good thing back then when I didn't even realize like what I was doing. I was just kind of doing it based off of the way that I thought that I felt, but really it was you moving in my life. And so I say all this to say that if you have anything that you are facing that you feel like you need that look at the devil trying to get my tongue. If you have anything that you are facing that you feel like you need to escape from, Christ will and can deliver you from any and all things, any and all diseases, any negative feelings, any mental states, any self-esteem issues, any lack of confidence, any family members, any negative, tumultuous thing that you may be going through. God can and will be a solution for you, and he desires to be that for you because he does love you. And once you allow God to be a space in your life, he will begin to move mountains for you and make you feel things that you thought were forever lost. And he'll return you to that little kid that you used to be, that used to feel complete peace and joy and was just oblivious about the world around you because you were just so innocent and pure. Like, he returns you to a part of yourself that you thought was forever lost. And yeah, I don't know if this is like all that I'm saying. I kind of just am like falling off of my little topic, but I'm just talking. And so yeah, I think that's it for now. I'm gonna see how long this took, and I'm gonna see how much longer I want to make it, or if it's good at this time. But if that was it, thank you for watching. I love you. Bye.